And we are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. It's season 10, I think, episode 11. We're back off hiatus. We're here to talk about San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Yes, it's the year 2024. It seems like only yesterday it was the year 2000, and Y2K was scaring everybody. Yeah, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and we're here to talk about everything from San Diego Comic-Con, whether it's all our own personal experiences with the con, all the news that came out of it, whether it's MCU news, which is a big thing, but we're also getting a unique perspective today on what it's like to work at San Diego Comic-Con with the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that are walking through there every single day for that one weekend. I am your host, Dimithri Perera, which I probably already said already, and I got two awesome guests for you guys today. If you're watching us live on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show, you can see us and you can see who the guests are. But if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, let me introduce them. First, we got Maggie Kingdom here on the show.
Hello.
Maggie, how would you sum yourself up? You're a cosplayer, for sure.
Yeah, cosplayer first and foremost. I help out my friends with video creation sometimes.
Friend
On
helper.
Instagram, we have, yes, I am very, very proud to be a helper. And I was definitely a helper at San Diego Comic-Con. So you have to like choose a thing, and I guess I chose like digital creator, so I guess you could say that. But cosplayer works.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of hats, and you can't get through Comic-Con solo. It's so much harder.
Yeah.
You gotta go as a group. You had a big group that you went with?
Yeah, it was like the people I was staying with were kind of my group, but then it branched off into other groups. But there was a lot of us, especially afterwards for the after parties.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you went to Comic-Con, because not everybody gets the chance. And then I'm glad that
True.
you're here to talk about everything about it.
Me too.
We also have a very unique perspective today by not only someone who went to Comic-Con but worked at Comic-Con. We got Prudence. Prudence, how you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm just kind of a nerd that loves to yap.
Yeah. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts behind the scenes about the news that came out. And you mentioned before the show you're not up to date necessarily with all the news that came out because you were working so much that weekend.
Yeah, so my shifts at Hall H, I did line management. So my shift started at 5 a.m. every day. I had to be at the convention center by 5 a.m. And I like my sleep. And so I was in bed by like 8:30 every night.
First
So
thing,
when everyone else was like going partying and going to Comic-Con parties, I was snoozing.
I'm sorry. Is that okay? Was that okay for you?
Yeah, because my experience of Comic-Con now has kind of just become more of like a personal tradition, and like the people that I work with are becoming like my friends, and like we're familiar with each other and we have a routine going. So it's more of like working Comic-Con is actually like the experience itself for me now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Wait, how many years have you been working Comic-Con?
So I actually in 2016, I volunteered for Nerd HQ. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but that was an event by Zachary Levi that was outside of Comic-Cons. And then the following year, I think 2017 was the first time that I actually started working at Comic-Con and doing line management. And I've been doing it every year since. And obviously it didn't happen 2020 because of COVID, but I also didn't work the special edition one because I actually went to that one. I went alone and I dressed up as Wanda, and it was really fun. But yeah, there's nothing like the actual Comic-Con because that one was so much smaller.
Yeah. I've been going to Comic-Con maybe 10 years. I've never once wondered what it was like to work there. I've taken you all for granted. And been very happy that I don't have to deal with me and the hundreds and thousands of other people that showed up. So thank you.
Oh my God, thank you.
Comic-Con was an experience. Prudence said that what year did you start working at Comic-Con?
I think 2017.
Okay. Okay, that's a long time.
Yeah, I think this was my 5th or 6th year doing it.
Okay. Did you go to Comic-Con before that?
I've been to Comic-Con as a guest just once. The first time ever was with my parents in 2011. And they had fun, but they were like, never again, because they just didn't realize how many people they had to deal with and like how crazy the lines are.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, I understand the lines better now, and I understand how to navigate Comic-Con a lot better, which, you know, I'm sure you do too after going for 10 years. And so it makes it easier, but at the same time, it doesn't make it less chaotic.
Oh, no. Because it changes.
Yeah. Every year, every second.
Yeah. Maggie, how long have you been going to Comic-Con?
This was only my 3rd Comic-Con. I feel like such a pleb compared to you guys.
Did you say only 3rd?
Yeah.
I thought you, like, the way you were prefacing it, I thought you were going to say it's only been my 1st. And I'd be like, oh, well, welcome. But it's your 3rd.
3rd. I mean, yeah. Well, there's people that are like, in my DMs, like, yeah, the Marvel panel, it felt like such like a pre 2020 Comic-Con. I was like, I wouldn't know, dude. Like, I didn't even start going to conventions really until after the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, that was also, the pandemic changed everything. I mean,
yeah.
Am I the first person to say that?
Yes.
The pandemic was not a small thing, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, somebody has to, you know? I think it changed a good amount of things.
I never thought about it like that before.
I went, I think I started like 2012, I think is when I started. And what people don't, well, there are people who go to Comic-Con just as normal people. And then there's the people who are like not going to Comic-Con, looking at it from the outside in, never been to one. Like the people that I work with, they're like, oh, you're going to Comic-Con. Like, I could never. And it's like, I mean, you could. And, or
like,
they'll be like,
you could.
How much did that cost? It had to have been like thousands of dollars. And it's like, not really. The tough part is getting the tickets, right? But do you guys have people who you guys know that have never been to Comic-Con and are baffled by it?
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even my cosplay friends, like one of my best friends, like she does WonderCon every year. She does like D23, like she does conventions. And every time we talk about Comic-Con, she's like, the more you talk about it, the more it sounds like I would hate it. And it sounds overwhelming and I don't want to go. And I'm like, you try it. Just try it once. But I think it's so different that like I barely even cosplay at Comic-Con anymore. Or like if I do like only characters that wear real human clothes, like no spandex, no wigs, no nothing like that. And so it's just so different. It really feels like, I don't know, like a job. I don't know. Like it really feels like it. Like WonderCon was like get in your fancy costumes and you know get to the convention center and take pictures all day and hang out with your friends. And then like SCCC, like like if I wasn't staying with you at the Airbnb and we didn't have a set plan to see each other, like there were so many of my friends and people in my circle that I was like, I just didn't physically see once throughout the 5 days I was there.
Yeah. The president of my company that I work for, it's not an entertainment company. It's it's ed tech, but he's a friend of mine because he's 2 years younger than me. And we go to cons, but we go separately and then we meet up there. I didn't even get a chance to see him. I was so overwhelmed. I forgot that he was there. He's also a fan of this show, so he might even be watching the live stream. He tunes in sometimes. But he was there, and I didn't get to see him. There's a lot of people I didn't get to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually learning after so many years of doing this. I'm barely learning that you have to plan ahead. If there are people you want to see, you have to have a place set. You have to have a time. You have to have a date. You have to have a plan ahead of time. Like, it's it goes by so quickly too.
And everybody like breaks off and does their own thing. Like the group that I was with, you know, my friends who we were in the Airbnb together and then we met up with other people. Like there were days where we would break off and I wouldn't see anyone like for that whole day. I would meet up with other people and like whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all had our own plans. What was the big draw of this? Was it the panels? Was it the cosplay? Was it the people? Was it the millions of dollars you earned, Prue, as a worker in overtime?
Well, I've always been a fangirl, so I haven't always been a nerd my entire life, but good, like the last half of my life, I would say. And so, especially when I was younger, that's what got me in the door. I was like, oh, there's celebrities that go to these conventions. I can see them. And then I just went in 2011 and I had a really good time. And I had an amazing time at Nerd HQ. That was the first time I went to Nerd HQ too. I met Zachary Levi. So of course I was like, oh my God. And it was something that I just wanted to keep doing. It feels like a whole other world. And I just liked being part of it. Yeah. And so, like you said, it's not even just the money though, that is like a hurdle to getting a badge. It's just getting the badge. There's a whole system. I don't even know the process. I honestly don't, because that's the reason I started working. I was like, I just want a badge. And I do get, the people in the green shirts do get paid. So I am also getting paid on top of it, like an hourly rate, which is like great. And I get a free badge. So after my shift, I can go and enjoy the convention. There are volunteers who don't get paid, but they have shorter shifts and they get a free badge. So that's what drew me to like working. And like, you know what? Just skip the middleman, skip the money, give me a badge. And it does mean that I don't get to go to panels that often because I'm working. But I always end up having such a good time anyway. It's the people that now, as an older adult, I realize it's the people, and it's like the sense of community that makes it fun, and not the celebrities, not just the celebrities. Because Joe Quinn was there, and oh my goodness. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all right. You're allowed to you know, fan over all these people. That's kind of what the whole point is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maggie?
Honestly, like I'm just trying to think about why I wanted to go for the first time, and it was straight up just because my friend had an extra badge for me. And like, because I've been going, like, again, like I didn't start going to conventions really until like after the pandemic. Like I went to D23 in 2019. I went for like one day. And then by the time I was like, okay, time to do more conventions, let's do WonderCon 2020. Like that's when the pandemic happened. And so none of these things happened. And then when things started going up again, my friend, it was 2022 was our first one. And he was on a panel. And so he got his badge from being on a panel. And then he had like a little +1. He was like, oh, do you want to be my +1? And then we got another badge for our other friend. And we literally stayed like with her parents in San Diego, like 15, 20 minutes away. It was really cute. They would like drive us in the morning and like drop us off at the convention center. And then we would just Uber back at night. It was very sweet. Like her parents being like, okay, have fun at Comic-Con, because they've lived in San Diego their whole life. So they get it. But yeah, I just love, and like that first year I definitely was cosplaying a lot more, which it was exhausting. I don't know how I did it with all the wigs and the spandex, but I just enjoy being there. Like honestly, this was the first year I even went to any panels. Like I'm not a panel person. It's not that I'm not a panel person, actually. It's I'm not a line person. I do not enjoy waiting in lines. The entire concept of Hall H has stressed me out for years. So I think it's honestly a miracle that I was there pretty much all day, both Friday and Saturday at this year's Comic-Con. But yeah, I just love like walking around, seeing people. I love the activations, like the offsites. Like that first year of Comic-Con, it was like offsite, 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 offsite. Like we were just doing all of them that we could.
Yeah. I remember there, because like I said, like I'd been starting maybe like 2012, 2013, I think is my first one. There was a year I didn't go. It just slipped my mind, and I got essentially bumped to the, because like what people don't always know is like, I mean, you guys know, but like non-Comic-Con going people, like when you get a ticket, let's just say you go to 2024, if you got a ticket for it, then you're eligible for pre-sale for 2025. But if you don't get a ticket or a badge for 2024, then you're just like regular sale for 2025. So whenever you first start, you got to really like scrap to get even one ticket for Comic-Con so you can get pre-sale for the next year. And I used to go year after year doing pre-sale. Awesome. Until one year, I don't know what happened that year. I just didn't. And then I got bumped back down for the next year.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's crazy that there's like a seniority almost.
Yeah.
Like if
There
you've
is.
been going for so long, it's easier to get in.
Yeah. Also, I'm the person in charge of getting tickets for everybody. You can only get
Oof.
yourself and 2 other tickets,
Strongest shoulder.
you know? But like I have my method, which I'm not going to say here, but I have my
No,
none of it's
there's
cheating,
secrets.
but like it's strategy, right? And so
Yeah, you're finagling.
you know, I'm like I'll handle it, and that's my job normally.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest news for you? If you had to pick one big news thing that came out of Comic-Con this year, because we got to talk about these stories.
Oh my god. Like, okay, biggest, like, for me, like,
For you.
biggest in my heart.
Yeah, for
Okay,
you.
because I'm like, there's biggest objectively, but I have some things to say about them. Oh man, there's so many things I liked. What did like? I'm also like coming from like I'm very in tune to like the film journalism side of things
Yeah,
because of like my boyfriend's job. So I'm trying
yeah.
to think of like what I like, not to be like, oh, I already know everything, but like what I didn't already know that like mattered to me. I don't know, because there's nothing that I found out. Like I saw clips from the Alien panel on Friday,
Okay,
but
yeah.
there was no like news from it that like really made me go crazy.
I mean, I feel the same way about like comic news because I went to a lot of smaller like
Yeah.
comic panels from Marvel and DC,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't release anything exclusive that they didn't already release online a couple days prior.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I know that Psylocke is getting her own solo X-Men comic book. Cool. But
Hooray.
I just found that out. Like, what am I
Yeah.
getting from here? You know? Prue, do you have
I
anything
know,
that
like
There was nothing groundbreaking, if I'm being honest.
I
And
mean,
like the nerds,
nothing
not
happened. Nothing happened to Comic-Con this year. You heard it here
yeah,
first.
nothing scandalous at all. No, nothing like nerd related that really surprised me,
okay.
that I heard of. But I got home and I was scrolling on my phone, I think on Tuesday, and I saw that there was a sex trafficking ring that was busted at Comic-Con.
Yeah. That's the big news, you
I
know?
just think that that's
It is.
crazy. I was like, we were there when that happened, and we didn't
Mhm.
know until right now. Okay. I just having that news associated with Comic-Con is so weird because we're just a bunch of nerds.
Mhm.
Right. I'll like no. I don't want to make light of everything. I just think that there's a lot of jokes that come with the fact that it happened at Comic-Con or during Comic-Con weekend, you know. Um
I don't think it was shocking either because of how many people are there, but it was
Yeah.
just
right.
shocking to me because Comic-Con is so like close to my heart and it feels kind of like a safe space.
Right.
In a way, you always have to be vigilant, especially in crowds that large. But I don't know, the vibes are always so positive. I was just like, oh, that was the last news that I would have expected to hear. I don't know,
Yeah.
crazy.
I do want to say you know what's it called, the con something when you get sick after a con.
Concred.
Con crud. I did
Mhm.
not get it though. Right now, I do have a little bit of a cough, but it's not from con. It just kicked in, and so I'm like, oh, dang it! I hate getting sick. Did you guys get sick?
I wore a
I think
mask as much as I could, unless
Yeah,
I was outside. But
yeah,
if I was walking around the exhibit hall, I had that mask on.
yeah.
I was like exhausted and but I didn't get like sick. Like nothing I had to like take medicine for, but I literally like my body. Well, also I'm just stupid. And the Monday after Comic Con, my best friend got engaged the Sunday of Comic Con, and I've been talking with her fiance now. Yeah, well, not at Comic Con. She's not like that.
Oh,
She was
she's
back.
not like that.
No, yeah, no. I mean, she's normal. But like at back in her hometown, and so she is a Disney adult though, I will say that. And so we all went to Disney the next day, and she has an annual pass. Like it's not like this is a once in a lifetime thing for her, but we all went, and so I was texting her like on the way back from San Diego, being like, okay, what time do you want to go to the parks? And she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna send an Uber for you because I live in Anaheim. I actually work at the parks, but she was like, I'm sending an Uber for you at 7 a.m. And I was like, what? What do you mean? Like, I didn't even get home on Sunday because we do like a big family dinner at Old Spaghetti Factory every year. And so I didn't even get home until like 11:30. And then I went to Disneyland at 7 a.m. the next day and walked around. I went home at like 4. Like, that was my limit. I told them, I was like, you guys, they were staying all day, they were being fiancés or whatever. But I was like, physically, I will fall down and die in front of Deadpool and it'll be really embarrassing. So I was like, I'm leaving. But after, it was like the Tuesday, like I was running on adrenaline all of Monday. And then the Tuesday after, I was like, oh, I'm dead now. I'm a dead body. Like, they're going to have to weekend at Bernie's me for the next like 2 to 3 business days.
Yeah, I didn't do anything like the 2 days after I got home.
I went to Disneyland the Tuesday before Comic-Con because my friend Justin was in town. Prue knows Justin. And so my friend Justin so he wanted to go to Disneyland. So a couple of us went to Disneyland on Tuesday. And then we found out Deadpool was coming to Disneyland after. So I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
It's always when the movie comes out.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, those crowds are huge.
Was it pretty bad? With Deadpool and everything?
Literally, it's just for Deadpool. So I actually work in Avengers Campus, like, as my day job. I work in attractions. And so even yesterday at work, like, he does his own like little story time thing, like over by the Hyperion courtyard. And that crowd just gets so huge. Like, the entire courtyard is filled. And it's like a 6-minute show. And then he just leaves. Like, he's so popular that, like, it would genuinely be a safety hazard if they just had him standing in one place being like, okay, come meet Deadpool. Like, you can't really even meet him. He just does his own thing. And then he like infiltrates other shows. So like the other Avengers Campus entertainment they have, like, he will come into some of them. And it's like, because they have like a Guardians little dance off show. And like, I've never seen the crowd that big, but it's because they knew Deadpool was coming. Like, these crowds are huge. Like, Deadpool is making, Disney makes a lot of money already, but Deadpool is really, really, really bumping it up.
I have some ideas for Disneyland Deadpool, so if you can get me in touch with the higher ups at Disney,
absolutely.
Just let them know that I got some ideas. For them. Big news to come out of Comic-Con obviously was MCU stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it, people could guess. Some of it wasn't that much. Like, you, Maggie, you were there in Hall H for the MCU panel.
I was. Yes, I was in Hall H like all day, Friday and Saturday, and I was there. I was in the room where it happened.
That's too much Hall H. That's a lot of Hall H.
It was crazy. I mean, to be fair, for half of it, I was just like disassociating in my little chair and not paying attention. Like, started the Walking Dead panel on Friday, but I was like completely checked out. I was like, give me Alien. But I think I got there at like 1 on Saturday because my friend had saved me a seat. And yeah, I like genuinely, the Penguin panel was on Saturday too. That was cool. But everything else on Saturday, I was like, why is this not Marvel? What's going on? Like, it's at the end of the day, so you just sit there all day. That's how they get you. That's how they get people in the seats for the other panels.
Yeah. Prue, did you get to be in Hall H at all?
No. So I have to wait in line like everyone else if I want to go to a panel. So I actually,
but you are the line.
You know what? It's okay. I get a badge. I get a badge and I get paid. I'll take it. I have to remind myself every year because I catch myself wanting special treatment sometimes. I'm like, but like, I was working. I couldn't get in line. But I waited. I remember I got in line for the Marvel panel in the afternoon one year, and there were just like a bunch of strangers that we were all alone, and so we just formed a little group and we talked for hours and we didn't get in. We didn't think we were going to get in, but we had a good time talking to each other. So it's a battle for me to even get into Hall H. They will get like fired immediately if they catch us even trying to like sneak in or anything. So yeah, I didn't get to go to any panels this year, but usually I get to go into at least one. Supernatural used to be one that I used to always want to get into.
For sure.
Yeah. I didn't I was originally planning on going to Hall H on Saturday, staying in line, doing that thing. First thing, I don't mind lines. I do mind the heat. So WonderCon in Anaheim is always like spring. But San Diego Comic Con's always like height of summer. And there's no shade. There's shade at Anaheim because they got trees, you know? Though I'm now thinking about like where the line is anymore, but I don't even remember. I don't bother with Hall H, but I was gonna do it this year. And then Saturday was my big cosplay day, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah, you really do have to sacrifice like your entire day if you want to do Hall H stuff, which is I kind of knew, like it was told to me, but I didn't really realize it. And then like at the end of the day, because Friday was the first time I ever went into Hall H. The end of the day, Friday, I was like, wow, I really just sat in a room all day. Like it was worth it, but I just sat in a room all day.
Right. At least there's AC and everything, right?
Oh yeah, and the chairs are padded now, and they have little cushions. They're not like just crappy. I mean, they are crappy plastic chairs, but they've got some padding.
That's good.
There's a bathroom. There's like food. I mean, it's con food, but there's food. So there's really no need to even leave Hall H if you want to see a panel.
Yeah.
You can stand there all day and not be uncomfortable at least, but the line is a different story.
Yeah, it's just before you get into the building is the hard part. Once you're in, you're in.
The problem with con is like everything is planned for Saturday. So all the big cosplay shoots, and I haven't done cosplay in a long time, and I decided, I was like, this year I'm gonna throw some stuff together. And so all that was planned for Saturday, to the point where the DC cosplay shoot was planned at the same time there was a DC panel, and I was like, who's coming up with this? Who's timing this?
No, it's crazy. Like, and all like there's just so much going on that you really have to choose like what you want to do. Because I was really sad because my friend has a friend that works at Lionsgate, and she was like, oh, I'm gonna get you into the VIP stuff for the Borderlands like offsite, because they like made the whole bar and stuff like that. And it was like when the cast was gonna be there. I was like, that's so awesome. And they're like, yeah, it's 4 to 5:30 on Friday. And I was like, well, Alien Romulus starts at 5:15 and I have to be there before that so I can get a good seat. So I will not be attending, but thank you so much for the opportunity. Like there were so many things where I was like, you guys have fun. I'm sitting in a room today.
Tell me about the Alien panel, because I feel like that's big for you and I want to hear about the Alien panel. I am scared of aliens, not aliens in general. Some aliens are nice, you know.
You're scared? You're scared of this guy?
I mean, I'm not scared by looking at him.
For the audio people, this is a xenomorph drawing that I pulled out from.
I'm not afraid of like
He's
them
just
just
a guy.
by sight, but the Red Band trailer, when I saw Deadpool Wolverine, the Red Band trailer for Alien Romulus was gross and scary.
It's nasty. I love it.
Did you learn anything new?
It was really just a nice like Q&A. There was no like big like reveals or anything like that. I feel like alien movies, like I feel like the general, I don't want to say the general public, but people who know Alien, like they know Alien, you know, like they're on a ship, they're on a Weyland-Yutani thing, the xenomorph pops up unexpectedly, people die, there's acid blood. So like there's not a lot you can say story-wise before seeing the movie that doesn't like ruin things. Like, so like we didn't really get a lot of that, but it was a lot of Fede Alvarez, the director, talking about like what it means to make an alien film, and like he was really, really big into practical sets. So like the Weyland-Yutani, like they call them shake and bake colonies. So they're kind of like working, like kind of worker towns where like everyone who lives there like works there for Weyland-Yutani, and it's like a whole thing. And it's like, so he was talking a lot about how those are practical sets. And so like if you see like a Jeep driving around, like that was a real Jeep, and it's like a real whole, like they literally built like a whole colony like on a soundstage essentially. So that was really cool. We did see some new clips. We did get to see a chest burster scene, which was very exciting. But he even said it, which I thought was so cool. I think it's just such a nice like dedication to his craft. He said, he was like, I'm showing you these clips, but they are cut differently than the movie. because he still wants people to see the movie and see, like, so we saw the general idea, but I'm actually really excited to see the movie and see if it's like a little bit different or if it's longer or something like that. I don't know. I have tickets for opening night, so I'm ready. And then at the very end, they gave us all face hugger masks. They gave us these like really nice like latex. They have like wires in them, and you can put a little face hugger on your face and wear it. And so it was really cool being out in like downtown San Diego that night, like going to like bars and stuff and seeing so many people with face huggers on them, because there's, 6,500 people in Hall H and they all got a face hugger. So they're just like out in the world now.
They were so gross.
Yeah, I liked it.
I saw them. They were so gross.
Yeah.
Only one thing would have made it grosser is if on the inside of it had like a pacifier.
Oh yeah, so you can like,
nothing too big, but just
No, it looks nasty.
Yeah.
Like
Gross.
I love it personally. Well, I mean, like he talked about like the design, because like the xenomorph's design is different for everything, and like you can tell he really knows his stuff, because like all like the Weta effects people, they do like the creature shop people, and they were talking about the original xenomorph design by H.R. Geiger, which is like iconic, and if you're like a true alien diehard, things like most of the xenomorphs have like nicknames. So like the very first xenomorph design, they call him a Big Chap. So, and it was really cute. And then there's one that's called like Grid. I forget which one that one's in, but it was really cool seeing Fede talk about it and being like, yeah, well, this design, we took some stuff from Big Chap and some stuff from Grid. And I'm like, wow, like he really knows what he's talking about, which you would hope. But like, I feel like sometimes directors come onto a franchise and they're just like, yeah, I'm here to do my job. It's just my movie now. But it was really nice to see like how much he cared about the Alien franchise, because I care about the Alien franchise. I was like, wow, directors, they're just like us.
Yeah. I know enough about the Alien lore, and then I read the comics, because Marvel Comics has like a line of comics, and so
they're doing a Romulus comic.
Is there one coming out?
I think it's a prequel. I don't know, but they're doing the Marvel Alien comics. They're doing stuff for Romulus too.
Okay, cool. So I'll read those, but I get scared for aliens in movies.
It's spooky.
Yeah. Prue, do you like aliens?
I've never seen any of the movies. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm barely getting into like horror as a genre. I know that's probably more, is it horror? Sci-fi?
It's sci-fi horror, right?
It's sci-fi with horror elements. I mean, I don't even want to get into the argument of is Ripley a final girl, because that's a whole like nerd debate topic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely I wouldn't call it just a sci-fi. Like it definitely has very strong horror elements to it.
As long as you know the biological process of aliens, I think you know aliens.
Yeah. I did see the trailer yesterday.
Why they'd be scary. They're super scary.
It was scary.
Yeah. Let's hit big MCU news, because and let me know what it was like when like being on the floor and whatnot. But question for Prue, did you see a big increase in the line, like for people that really wanted to get into that final MCU Hall H panel?
I think a lot of people entered in the morning and probably didn't leave. I don't know how many people throughout the rest of the day got to go in, because they let people in on a rolling basis.
Yeah.
So as people leave the hall, they let some people in, but I'm assuming that most of the people that got in the morning like stayed there all night or all day to see the Marvel panel. I was off at like 2 o'clock, by 2 o'clock every day. So I don't know what happened after that time, but Saturday was pretty busy, but Friday was too, because there were a lot of good panels on Friday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they let you line up, like you can line up for Saturday's panel like days in advance. Like you can, I don't know if that's like an official SDCC thing, but I know they have like the next day line. And my boyfriend went in the morning on Saturday, and he was talking to some of the people that were literally first in line, and they said they got there like Wednesday night.
Oh.
Like Which I'm like, that seems like a lot. I'm like, if we all just agree to not do that, then we could line up a little bit later and it would still be fine. But I mean, even for Friday, like for the Rings of Power panel, like some of my friends were getting their like wristbands at like 4 in the morning or something, or like lining up 4 in the morning to get their wristbands. I was like, that's a lot. Like, I'm just gonna walk in and see what happens.
Right.
I'm always so surprised at how many people we fit into Hall H, and I do feel bad sometimes that people are camping out. I will say, I'm not a spokesperson for Comic Con. We are hired through a third party like temp agency, so my views are just my own. That's my personal experience. However, I will say I don't know why they don't do a lottery system for more of the panels like they did for Deadpool. I don't know what that situation was like because that was at night and I wasn't there for that. But
Mm-hmm.
at least at a Star Wars convention, that's how it works for the really big panels. It's a lottery system. You have to apply beforehand, and if you get in, you get in. If you don't, you don't. But either way, it helps you plan out your day because if you know that way, you don't have to wait in line for days to
Yeah.
maybe get into a panel.
For an hour. The panel's only an hour and then it's over. Like during the Marvel panel, I think it started at 6. Like I checked my phone and I was like, oh my god, it's 6:40. Like, what do you mean there's only 20 more minutes of this panel? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
It
it
goes
goes
by
by
so
so
fast.
quick. It is cool to be in the actual room and to say that you were there and to get, I mean, to get a cool exclusive because most of the time you get something for free. When I went to the last Supernatural panel, they gave us a little car, which is like the car that they have
Oh,
in
that's cute.
Supernatural, and I still have it. And so it is nice, but you also like forfeit so many other fun things if that's all
Yeah.
you're doing. So you really just have to weigh, how much like you want to go into a certain panel. I am interested to see if they start doing a lottery system more. I don't know.
I heard the Deadpool Wolverine one went wrong.
I heard that too.
And
I don't know how though.
I mean, it's kind of the age-old question. Even for San Diego Comic-Con, like the way you get tickets is like you got to be in the lobby before 9, between 8:30 a.m. and 9 on whatever that day is, in the virtual lobby, and then you get sorted out randomly in an order, and then you just get your tickets that way. Some people prefer that, or some people are like, I'll stay in a virtual line or even a real line for a week if it means me getting in. Like, which one's better? I think it just depends on, like, I don't know.
It's hard. Well, like especially like working at Disney, like Disney does like virtual queues and like all these lottery things and like lottery panel winning. I'm having a stroke. Lottery stuff for D23 just came out, and I did not apply for any panels because I'm just flying by the seat of my pants and just going as my friends plus
Yeah.
one and just having a good time. But like so many people were like on Twitter and being like, I applied for all these panels and I got one. And so like they have a badge for 3 days of this convention and they're only are guaranteed a spot for literally one panel because all of the Honda Center stuff, like I don't even want to get into that. We're talking about San Diego. We're not talking about Anaheim.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, I don't know, like if like a lotteries and virtual queues, I think it's hard. And I feel like a lot of people are definitely willing to wait in a physical line from, Wednesday to Saturday. But, not everyone can do that. I definitely wouldn't be able to do that. Like, some people, that's just not in their wheelhouse. So it's like, I feel like, I don't know what is objectively better for the system. I'm like, whatever makes the venue run smoother, whatever is less of a safety hazard, because like all those people just like in the streets of San Diego in the shoots, like with the little tents. I'm like, that's a lot. Like there's a lot going on there.
I like the idea that you have to prove yourself, but I don't like the idea of it being like this weird endurance contest. I like the idea that like, why don't you open up a line from like from like early in the morning, 6 to 7 a.m. And then at that point, everybody gets sorted in a lottery and like whatever. Like I don't know. Like you put in the time, then there's a lottery system, but it doesn't mean if you get there at 2 a.m. you're gonna have better chances. It's just like as long as you're in line by a certain time, then you get sorted into lottery. Then at least you know.
I feel like there's also maybe a misconception that like Comic-Con, this is the way that Comic-Con decided to organize the line. From my understanding, I don't know if this is 100% true, but from what I've heard, it kind of started with like the Twilight fans, and they were very excited to get into Hall H, and so they just started camping out. So it was kind of like, oh, so now we have to hire people 24 hours because people are going to camp out anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like, here, this is what Comic-Con wants. It's more like, this is what the people are going to do. So how do we manage it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because people are going to camp out. They're going to camp out. They're fans. I love fans. I'm a fangirl too. They're just so passionate.
I mean, people don't realize, because people talk about like, it's Comic-Con, why are there non-comic things or whatnot? And so what people don't realize is the one thing that changed Comic-Con forever is Twilight. When they decided to do the Twilight panel, I'm not sure if it was for the first movie, but I think it was for the first movie, had such a fervent support of not only fans, but fans outside the normal demographic of Comic-Con. It just ended up being like preteen and teen girls. And then Comic-Con was like, oh, we could do more things with Comic-Con. We can have movies and TV shows and all that stuff. And does it have to be comic book related? No. Like, we can do just pop culture in general. And it really expanded that way. And then, yeah, you're right, Prue. Like, staying in line, that's a whole nother level of being a fan.
Yeah.
All right, we've been tiptoeing around it. MCU news. It's the big thing. I was not in the panel I wasn't in Hall H, but Maggie was. It kicked off with a Deadpool Wolverine song and dance number.
Yeah, a whole choir.
Was it cool? Was it not cool?
Yes,
like, what was it like?
So where we were sitting, because we had like a little team going on, so we had to save a lot of seats, and where we were sitting was like a great seat, but also not great, because it was right behind like the huge camera that they used to like broadcast the thing. So I was on the very edge. So like when they had like the clips and stuff, I could just poke my head to the side and I could see most of it. I was actually, the only reason I was in there, because again, like I've said, like I'm not really a panel person. The only reason I was in there is because I have friends who are on the Discussing Film team, which is a news outlet that's very popular on Twitter and like they have Instagram and stuff. And every year they live tweet the panels, because you're not supposed to live stream, and so they literally will like tweet out every single thing and like quotes and stuff. And so I was like, I want to help you guys out. I was a helper this year, and so that was the only reason I was there. So I literally was like on my phone, like literally being like, and this happened, and this, and Kevin Feige just said this, and blah 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 blah. So for half the time, like I didn't really mind sitting behind the camera, because for half the time I was twiddling my thumbs on my phone.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because we were in like the second row of that like block, so like it's where you can walk and stuff. And before the panel started, like workers were being like, okay, like if you're in the, like talking to people in the front row, and they were like, if you have stuff, like keep it as close to you as possible, like keep your feet tucked in. And we were like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen? And so then it starts, and Madonna's Like a Prayer, it starts playing, blasting through Hall H, and this beautiful choir of red and gold come onto the stage, and then it's just Deadpools, and they're in every costume you can imagine. So like right in front of us was like a Deadpool dressed as Woody from Toy Story. There is a Deadpool like kind of doing like a Greatest Showman, like Ringling Brothers circus moment. There was a Deadpool on stilts. There was a Deadpool in a San Diego Padres uniform. There is like a fanboy Deadpool with like a foam finger and like a Hawaiian shirt. Like there was a lady Deadpool. There was like literally every Deadpool you could imagine was there. And they were all dancing in the aisles and just having a blast. And it was honestly crazy. Like, and I know that like Marvel gets crazy, and I know they do a lot of big stunts to promote what's going on. But like there was one stunt that like I had known about before, and we'll get into that later because I was later in the panel. But there was one that I known about before. So I was like, okay, is it this? Is this the thing that's happening? Like, I don't know. Are we tucking our elbows because of that? And then the Deadpools came out. I was like, oh, okay. Like, I wasn't expecting that because they already had their whole own panel. The movie's already out, but it was crazy. And then on the screen it said like LFG, like the Let's Fucking Go thing.
Yeah.
Which I did not realize was like, is that like his slogan? I don't know. Like, why do they do that?
I
don't know.
It was a branding thing for this movie specifically, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there were
okay, yeah, they had that.
Yeah,
they had that on the screen, and it was a lot. There was frankly too many Deadpools for my liking. Okay, I can barely deal with one. I'm kind of a low key. I am a hater.
That's fair. I like Deadpool. That's there is a limit for
he's
too much
likable
Deadpool,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like Deadpool very specific ways. So not all
Deadpool, he's like
hits
dessert. He's like dessert, you know. You don't like most people like dessert. You don't like every type of dessert, and also if you eat too much dessert, it's not a good time.
Right.
You know, I love dessert. I have a big sweet tooth, and I love Deadpool. Love Deadpool. I love Deadpool.
But some people try to go too far with the dessert. They're like, let's throw some alcohol in it. Let's light it on fire. This may be dangerous. And it's like, how about just dessert? You know?
Yeah. Just a nice bowl of ice cream.
Yeah. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. So it starts off with that, and again, I wasn't there, but I also was like, I'm just gonna find out stuff about it. Like, there's nothing gonna be there that I can't hear about later. Sure, I can't be there to experience it, but if it's news, I'm gonna hear about it 15 seconds later. You know?
Absolutely.
After that came the Captain America Brave New World panel, right? That had Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, and like a bunch of other of the actors. The big thing that I think that we found out news-wise is who Giancarlo Esposito plays.
Yes.
Because he was a kind of a recent addition to the movie because of, I think, reshoots and whatnot. And he's the leader of the Serpent Society. He's Sidewinder, which really means nothing to non-comic fans. And it means almost nothing to comic fans.
Yeah.
Because the Serpent Society is, okay. It used to be a joke. Like, they're...
Yeah.
You know?
I will say they're definitely, from the clips we saw, they're definitely not people in serpent costumes. They are more like just run-of-the-mill mercenaries. The clips that we did see were really cool. It was also very silly seeing Harrison Ford come on stage, and he kept doing like Hulk mannerisms. So he was like pretending to Hulk out, and I was like, Grandpa, no, it's okay. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah, we saw clips from the movie. Like a little scene. We did get to see, which is not in the trailers yet, we did get to see the full Red Hulk transformation. So I saw Harrison Ford's face on a Red Hulk, and it was very jarring.
Oh. Does he have a mustache or no?
No. They Harrison Ford did say at the panel, he said, I would have grown a mustache if they had asked me to. But there's no mustache on Thunderbolt Ross anymore.
Okay. Prue, is this all news to you?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the comics, Thunderbolt Ross has a mustache, but when he turns into Red Hulk, the mustache disappears. Like, Red Hulk doesn't have a mustache. So I don't know.
I guess they just didn't want to deal with like MCU like nitpickers being like, well, why does he have a mustache when he's a human? Like, there's already so much like BS to say about about like, I'm like, it's a comic book, guys. Like, it's silly, it's dumb. But
haters gonna hate.
I'm sure they just didn't want to deal with that. And honestly, a character having a mustache, if like that is something that keeps you up at night, like, go to therapy, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just surprised Harrison Ford is doing this movie.
I'm sure that paycheck was real good.
Like
he did say, he does seem like a little bit genuine about it. He did say they were like asked him like, so why are you here? Like, what made you actually want to join the MCU? And you know, I mean, it is a little bit unfortunate. I will talk about how I just cannot remember his name. I want to say William Hurt, but that could be totally wrong.
Yeah,
the
William
actor
Hurt.
that played, the actor that played Thunderbolt Ross did unfortunately pass away, and that was really sad. I really liked his performance. So, and Harrison Ford did talk about that. He was like, you know, like Bill was a friend. Like he seemed really like. I think if someone had to take over the role and they weren't just gonna like completely scrap it, I'm glad it was Harrison Ford because he seems like he really cares and like he cared about William as a friend. And he did say, he was like, you know, I see all these great actors and they just look like they're having the time of their lives. And I wanted to be a part of that. Like that was like a quote from Harrison Ford. So I'm like, he seems like he's having fun. I think he's having a good time, like playing into like the grumpy grandpa. Like during the press line, people were like, so you're in universe 616. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And I hate you. Like, he's just like he's such a troll. And like, I love it, honestly. I'm like, yeah, honestly, because you don't have to be, I don't think that actors have to be a giant fan of whatever franchise they're joining. They don't have to be lore experts. Like
No.
you're there to, you know, you're there to do a job. You're there to act. So if you're doing it well, that's all I really care about.
You just need to know what your character knows.
Yeah.
Right? Prue, are you a Harrison Ford fan?
Yes, of course. And I was gonna say, I feel like he kind of acts the same. He acts so like nonchalant about Star Wars too, but I have always felt like deep down inside that like beyond the paycheck, I feel like he cares about Star Wars and he cares about like
for sure.
everything. Like he just puts on a front.
I think he's that type of dad.
Amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just being silly.
He's just like, it's like, I don't even know if he is a dad. Does he have kids? I don't know, but he just seems like that dad type. To like, oh, he's having fun, but then you're like, did you have fun today? It was your birthday, and he's like, yeah, okay,
it was all right.
Thank you, but you know, I think he's that type. But it's funny, Prudence, that you brought up Star Wars. You know, one of his lesser known like independent roles. In that franchise,
absolutely.
But that because he wanted Han Solo to die originally in Empire, and he didn't, and then he was on there like for Return of the Jedi, and then they brought him back just to kill him in Episode 7, and I just think it's funny that like he's signing up for another franchise. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the only one that he's in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A one and done.
Well, I mean, it's not to like make light of someone's passing, but it is interesting that like William Hurt passed away, and then they're like, who can replace him? Like this guy passed away, like he's old, all this stuff. And like, you know what? We're gonna get someone even older, and he's
older?
gonna do it. I think Harrison Ford is older than William Hurt was when he passed away. You can absolutely fact check me on that, but I'm like, either way, like Grandpa's old. I feel like William Hurt like wasn't. I mean, he was like in his 60s, but he wasn't like super old.
Well, we'll see. Sometimes when I'm typing into my phone, I do a dot instead of a space, and then my phone is like, there is no website. William.
Yeah. What do you mean?
William.hurt.
I know phones are so smart, but so stupid.
He's 8 years older.
That's what I'm saying.
That's wild.
I mean, he's Harrison Ford. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
he'll live forever.
One and done. Yeah. Yeah, we're fine.
But yeah, Captain America: Brave New World. I mean, the trailer is already out for this movie, and like I don't know what more they can say. People are either going to watch it or not watch it, and that's okay. There's a lot of interesting things in play, obviously behind the scenes as well. But we'll see how that goes. Then they go into Thunderbolts asterisk. They Prudence, are you familiar with the Thunderbolts at all?
I'm not.
I'm familiar
Should
with
I
them.
be?
I'm
No.
I mean, other than
Yeah,
I'm assuming you're a Bucky / Sebastian Stan fan. Are you? Am I reading you correctly?
Yeah, I would say that's not my like favorite character.
Okay, interesting.
But I definitely like him a lot.
Because
the character and the actor.
Yeah, you're an Eddie Munson fan, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a big crossover there between.
There is. I don't know why I haven't I did end up on Sebastian Stan TikTok years ago, and I was like, I see it, but it never stuck.
Yeah. Well, he's in it, and it's essentially just a team of villains-ish. They're not like villains, mercenaries, superpowered spies, that sort of thing.
Listen, all I know is that as of right now, Baron Zemo is not in it, and it will piss me off until the day I die if he does not show up in this movie, because he is in the Thunderbolts in the comics.
Yeah,
as far as I know, and I am like the #1 Baron Zemo stan. It's I'm fighting the fight. I'm on the front lines for him, and I loved him in Civil War, and I loved him when he came back and talked to the Winter Soldier. And I was so excited. I was like, Thunderbolts, War Zemo, hooray, this is for me. And then they announced the team and he wasn't on it. And I was like, Kevin Feige, I'm in your walls. Like, I'm going to show up at his front door and it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, okay?
Zemo is the leader or one of the the leader of one of the incarnations of the Thunderbolts in the comics. But he's not listed here. But I mean, they're bringing
back trapped. He's trapped in the raft.
Is he?
Yeah, they are. I mean,
is he in the raft?
He's in Wakanda, the raft, or something.
What happens at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier? I forget.
I thought he gets put in Wakandan jail.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely just sitting in a cell somewhere. Whether it's on Wakanda or on the raft, I don't know. But yeah, we do see Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. She has a new costume. She looks beautiful.
Oh, what does the costume look like? I haven't seen it. That's probably.
I was about to say, the clip that they showed, which looks to be like some iteration of the first trailer that will be released sometime. I was trying to, because we do footage descriptions, because it's exclusive, we can't just film it. We do footage descriptions on discussing film, on the articles and stuff. And I was trying to be like, this is happening and this is happening. And then halfway through, I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I was like, I don't know if that's because I kept looking down at my phone to type. I don't know if it's because I'm behind the camera and I'm moving to the side. But it's dark. It's less white. It's darker. She has a new hairstyle. I couldn't tell you what it is. Her helmet is different. It looks more like Tron, or it looks more like Daft Punk, I would say.
Okay.
But there's so much happening. They use a orchestral version of Where Is My Mind by the Pixies, because I think Yelena is going to really be the driving force. I feel like she's really much the heart of it, because the footage starts with her, and she she doesn't recruit anyone. She recruits Alexei and is talking to him, and Alexei, whatever, whoever David Harbour is.
Yeah. And
then it's one of those things where it's they're all kind of set up. It's not really Suicide Squad-y, but I think they all get hired to do the same job, but they don't realize that they're all hired to do the same job. And then they meet. There's a guy named Bob. I don't know who the fuck Bob is, straight up. And they were Hydra? And this guy, I don't know. He just looked like a regular guy. When I tell you that footage was so confusing, I need that trailer to come out right now, because I'm did I even see that? Was that real? What even happened?
Oh, Bob.
The fighting. Bob? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah.
I know.
Bob.
Okay. Yeah, so there are rumors that the Sentry is going to be in this movie. So the Sentry, Sentry, I don't personally like the character. I think he's mostly a plot device. But essentially, he's Superman-esque. He can fly. He has crazy strength, all that stuff. But the reason he's like that is because there's this demonic being that is inside him called the Void that gives him those powers, and he kind of has this split personality. So rumor has it that this normal group of anti-heroes that don't have big superpowers are gonna all have to fight this Superman kind of guy gone bad. And his name's Robert.
I see.
Robert Reynolds, I think is his name. So,
Burt Reynolds? Oh my gosh.
Burt, is Burt short for Robert? Did I just?
Oh my god, is it?
Oh my god, I don't think so.
I mean, Dick is short for Richard, so anything's possible.
Yeah, that's true. Now you got me looking up.
I don't know.
I know that.
I will say.
I need to know.
Yeah.
No, it's short for Burton.
Sure, why not?
Burton Leon Reynolds Jr. is Burt Reynolds.
Burt and Ernie.
Yeah. So I mean that's Thunderbolts, but like
Sure.
I'm excited for the trailer.
In my heart, I still think the asterisk is for Thunderbolts and Baron Zemo, but you know, that's just me.
What is the asterisk for? They still are keeping it, they're keeping a lid on it.
They were being such little like shitheads about it. Like Kevin was like, "Oh, you don't know, can we say blah 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 blah?" I think it's, if I had to guess, I think it would be either at the end of the movie or whatever. It's like Thunderbolts, and then the asterisk is like their new title. Like I think they might just be using the Thunderbolts for like comic recognition, but then they're actually like something else or something like that, or some, I don't know.
There better be a big payoff. Like if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna tease something like that, it better be worth it.
Yeah, if that asterisk is like such a big part of the marketing and like the title, I'm like, please be good. Like please.
Yeah. Rumor has it that they're gonna be the Dark Avengers. That maybe that's what the asterisk is for. But
maybe.
I don't know. The MCU, I have mixed emotions about all this news that has been coming out. So we're getting into some bigger things. So Fantastic Four news, it's going to be called the First Steps.
Yeah. Which it doesn't need to be. It could just be called Fantastic Four, but it's fine.
I think it's.
I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan.
Are you?
I love the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I love the 2005 movies. I do not love the
Fant Four Stick.
No, not that. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I'm normal. But I love the Fantastic Four. I love them. I actually was it this year? 2 years? No, not this past WonderCon, but the WonderCon before. My friends and I did a huge Silver Age Marvel group, and I was Sue Storm with Logan was my Reed Richards. Logan, our mutual friend.
I saw that. I saw that picture. That's cool.
Yeah, I love Fantastic Four. So I went, and then the fact that they were like, yeah, 60s futuristic. I was like, it's happening. It's all happening, everyone. But I don't think that every Marvel movie needs a title and then a like byline. Like it could just be the Fantastic Four. It doesn't have to be Fantastic Four First Steps. And that's my little hill that I'm dying on.
Prue, how do you feel about subtitles? Of titles, not closed caption subtitles.
I kind of agree because I kind of like to be left wondering if there's going to be another one or not. And I feel like First Steps kind of implies that like, it's the MCU, so of course they're going to like milk it. I'm just excited for Fantastic Four because Joe Quinn and Pedro Pascal.
Right.
I love
Joe Quinn.
I love the other two also. I love Vanessa Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as familiar with her.
Where did I first see her? Was it Mission Impossible? I saw her in Mission Impossible, and then she's also in the horrible Hobbs and Shaw movie. But she's a shining star.
She's in the Joaquin Phoenix Napoleon.
Oh yeah, I never saw that.
She was really good in that.
Okay. So yeah, of course she would be Sue Storm. That makes sense. And then Eben Moss-Bachrach.
Sure.
He was in the Punisher Netflix show. And then he's in The Bear. That everybody knows him from The Bear, but I knew him back in the day. Punisher season 1. Yeah. But he's cool. But he's mostly gonna be Rock, I would assume, most of the time.
Most of the time.
You know.
We'll see.
We'll see. But like I saw the sizzle reel or whatever. It wasn't an official trailer, I don't think.
No. So they started filming this past Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I was very curious to see what they would talk about or show us if the movie had literally not even started filming yet. But they kind of did, like, when they did their hair and makeup test, they kind of did like a concept reel.
Yeah.
So they shot a bunch of little scenes in the hair and makeup test, and it was shot in like 4:3, and it looks really cute. It looks super vintage. I am curious to see how much of that will translate to the actual movie, because people kept being like, it looks so good, it looks so good, and I'm like, guys, it's not the movie. Like,
Yeah,
it's not, the movie hasn't started yet. Like, that there's no way to tell that's going to be in the movie. But it was very cute. They had like the love game, like let's make a match or whatever, like the old 60s one, and like it was really cute. They had like a girl, and she'd be like, okay, it's like, who are you choosing? And she's like, contestant number 3. And it like panned over, and it was like normal guy, and then it was like a silhouette of the thing. And so like that was our first barely look at what he might look like. They did also say that they went into the desert to look at different types of rocks to see what type of rock they should make the thing be. So that was kind of cute. They can tell there's a lot of heart. They're talking to like scientists and things like that. And they have like, in the clip, they had like Reed Richards like teaching about like parallel universes. And then like all the kids are bored. And then he's like, do you want to see something blow up? It was very cute. And like they have Sue like teasing Johnny. She was like, ladies, like he's very single, like all these things. So it was really cute. We heard the first bits of the score by Michael Giacchino. So that's cool. So he's composing the film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just vibes. Like, it really was just vibes. It
See,
was
they
like, okay, here's what they might.
footage online. I saw that footage.
They did, yes, and then it very quickly got taken away. But screenshots and screen recordings still exist.
You do see Galactus peering through a building, which doesn't mean it happens in the movie per se. I would say that Galactus appears in the movie, but also Galactus doesn't peer through windows like King Kong. You know?
No, yeah, he definitely looked like just like a really big guy instead of like Galactus, the giant cloud planet eater.
Yeah. By the way, you know he's not a cloud, right? Like in the comics.
What is he?
So in the movie, he's a cloud, but everybody
tell me who this man is.
Everybody hated the Cloud Galactus from the second movie, Rise of Silver Surfer. So like that's like one of the big things people did not want. So Galactus was a being that existed before the birth of the universe, and he was the last person essentially to like die, I guess. He like merged with machinery, he came into this new universe at the Big Bang, and he essentially hungers for sustenance that only planets can provide. He is a huge being, but he can also change his size. And he has like a big world ship kind of thing, a huge solar system sized ship that he goes around to different places. He sends a herald out, so like Silver Surfer, on his behalf to scout planets that are able to be eaten, you know? And so Silver Surfer scopes it out, Galactus shows up, and then he shows up to Earth. And the question is like, how do you stop a literal force of nature as just Mr. Fantastic? Like, how do you stop something like that?
For sure.
Galactus looks like a human with a bunch of suit on him, but in continuity, he looks like whatever the people are. Like, they see him as themselves.
Got it.
So, like, if you're an alien, you're going to see him as an alien with the stuff on him.
For sure. Yeah, well, he just looked like a big old dude peering through a window. And it was honestly a little bit jarring because like everything was like super vintage and shot in 4:3, and then like Galactus just looked like an MCU movie with like CGI and stuff. I was like, whoa, what's going on?
I'm very curious on what they do.
I don't know why they keep doing Galactus before. Well, in the 2005 one, they did Doctor Doom, but he was in like a Burlington coat factory like outfit and took off his mask. And I don't even listen. We're gonna get to that.
We're gonna get to that.
But I don't know why they keep. I'm like the plot is there. Like you have the blueprints, and then they kept being like, well, but what if we did this instead? And I'm like, what if you just did the comics? What if you just did that? Huh? What a thought.
I personally want Galactus to show up in the beginning of the movie and get defeated 10 minutes in. I want the opening of the movie for them to be defeating the biggest threat known to man. And then we focus on these characters and the smaller threats and the little things that come out of it. Prue, are you a Fantastic Four fan? Do you know Fantastic Four?
Oh, I haven't. Much? I have not seen the movie in years. Like I saw it when it first came out, and So I don't remember it very much, but I'm very excited, especially listening to you two talk about it. I'm excited. It seems like a fun movie.
Fantastic Four is very similar to Superman, that you have to get someone who believes in the core concepts to make it. Like, you can't get an action oriented sort of director that believes in like hardcore punishment to like direct Fantastic Four. You can't get something like that to do Superman, you know? Because Superman and Fantastic Four, they strive for like being better, and like, you know, whether it's as humanity or like as an individual. So there's a lot of hope involved with both concepts, and so
yeah,
I think they're going in the right direction.
They definitely drove home the like family aspect of
Yeah.
it. It was like family. Like this is a family. You're gonna see them as they grow together and like as they grow as individuals, but like more importantly together. So I'm excited. I mean, Matt Shackman's never directed a movie, so we'll see how that works out. But
what's he known for?
He did WandaVision.
Oh, but he's directed that. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Not a movie, I don't think, but he did WandaVision, which most people really liked until the end. So we'll see if this is the same way. I don't know.
We'll see. I do think, and I just realized, like, First Steps sounds like a baby, and Reed and Sue have 2 kids in the comics.
Right. Please don't do that. I just want a little bit of time with just them.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future. I don't know. I don't know why people like obsess over like, well, and then this character is gonna come in. I'm like, well, we haven't met these characters yet. Like totally off kilter, but like with the Batman, with the Robert Pattinson, they're like, well, and Robin, what about Robin? And I'm like, dude, like, can you just live with Batman for a hot second? Like, I know we all want to see these characters, but I'm like, is there really like people that are like, I cannot wait to see Reed and Sue's son and daughter. They're my favorite Marvel characters. I'm like, dude, like, let's just live with the Fantastic Four for a little bit. And we'll see, because they're Marvel's first family. So like First Steps, like to me, I was like, oh, like they're the first family. And like, I don't know, like I think about like the steps on the moon, because like they go to space. I don't know. Obviously the Fantastic Four weren't the first people on the moon in the comics, but they do go to space, I guess. So I don't know. But then they're also like, well, it's not an origin story. And I'm like, what does First Steps mean? Then what are we doing? Just call it the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Keep in mind that the Fantastic Four in the comics came out before we went to the moon. I also think that's interesting, right? 61 or 62, I think.
That's kind of crazy.
And then we went to the moon in 1969. So
yeah,
you know, but the space age was big back then. I'm interested to see what happens with all this. I have thoughts, but what do I have more thoughts about? Couple big things that came out about Avengers and the MCU. And I'm gonna try not to rant. Couple of things. Well, so we got the Russo brothers coming back. They're gonna direct back-to-back Avengers films.
Yay.
Those 2 films are going to be called Doomsday and then Avengers Secret Wars, because Marvel had to readjust because of Jonathan Majors and taking out Kang and all that stuff. And then we find out the biggest news that I'm very interested to hear you guys. Dr. Doom, as far as what the panel is saying, Dr. Doom will be played by Robert Downey Jr.
Yay.
Anyone super excited for it? Because I feel like it's been a 50-50 thing. I've been seeing people that I trusted, you know, people in my life that I trusted that are very for it. And I'm like, how dare you? Betrayal for not agreeing with me.
No, it's hard.
I'm interested to hear your take. I don't know too much about the comics to have a fully formed opinion about this. However, I was talking to my friends yesterday. We saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and we were talking about this afterwards. And one of my friends thinks it might be a misdirect, and like someone else, like kind of what you were saying about another character, like Colossus. What was it? No, someone else earlier, you said that you hope that so they just like die at the beginning. Like he said maybe something like that will happen where like he's not actually Doctor Doom, but like he is at the beginning. I don't know. I think that like I love RDJ and I hope that they know what they're doing, but I feel like they have to be careful with something like that. Like he's Iron Man. I'm confused.
Yeah, Maggie.
Oh man. They're gonna get mad at me on the internet because I'm a hater. Bad. I feel bad about it. I don't like it. I think one of those things where it is the direction they have taken the MCU and making like the Avengers like the star players versus like the comics where it was like really like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and stuff like that. Like the fact that we don't get any of that in the MCU, like it's nice because it's refreshing, but then it's like if you want to do these big things, like to me, I don't know if you can successfully pull off a Secret Wars movie without having a fully fleshed out, developed relationship with Doctor Doom and Reed Richards. So I don't really understand how Galactus is going to be the main villain of the Fantastic Four movie, and then all of a sudden Doctor Doom is going to just get his own movie, and he's not fully like I don't know. It's weird because it felt like they put so much like care into they took like almost like 10 years, like 6 to 10 years to develop like Thanos and like what Thanos wanted, and like Doom, like at least to me in my knowledge, like Doom, he doesn't want to take over the world. He just fucking hates Reed Richards, like, and he just wants his own little agenda.
He does kind of want to take over the world.
A little bit. Yeah, sure. I mean, you can't have like a villain that doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think so much of like what I care about them is the relationship between Reed and Doom. And so I think it's odd to just jump into it. I also think if they did it comic accurate, Doom doesn't take off his mask. That's like his whole thing. So I'm like, it's just going to be RDJ's voice. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have him take off the mask. I'm sure it's going to be a whole thing. Whatever. Like we haven't had a Doctor Doom that doesn't show his face. But I don't know. It's just odd. And a part of me is like mad for being hopeful because when I was in the panel, they were like, okay, Doomsday, and then like the whole Council of Doom came onto the stage, and they like had so like 50 people dressed as Doctor Doom, and then they're like, okay, like, and we have such an iconic character, you have to have the best actor in the world, like one of the most talented people who there could only be one person for the job, and in my head I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Who could it be? I really, oh golly gee, I wonder what new actor is going to join the MCU in this iconic role. And then he takes out the mask and it's fucking RDJ. And like being in the room, like I yelled, I cheered. I think I was just mostly excited about being in the same room as Robert Downey Jr. because like I love Iron Man. Like the Iron Man movies mean so much to me. Like I'm not even mad as like an Iron Man stan. I'm just mad as like a person who expects better from my movies. It's like I'm not mad that he's being two characters. I just think it's such a cheap cash grab and like just a weird like marketing ploy to be like he's back baby when it's like I don't if Robert Downey Jr. I mean I know that like he was in talks to play Doom in like the 2005 one I think, but like I don't think if he was not Iron Man he would not be Doom. So I just think it's a little bit silly. Like I'm like mad. I'm like it could have been a different actor. It could have been a whole thing. But then I don't know. Like I would enjoy being proven wrong. I am not gonna like stick my heels in the mud and be like, no, it's gonna be bad no matter what. Like I'm okay with, being wrong. It doesn't happen often, but yeah, I'm okay with it. But like, man, it's just it kind of hurts low key. It's like I'm like, I shouldn't care about this because they're movies, they're not real. Like I'm an adult. But like at the same time, it's just a little frustrating to just be like fed slop, and it's like here's your slop piggies, eat it up. We know you'll come to the movies. It's fine. And I'm like, dude, like, what are we doing here? Like, but again, like with the MCU and the direction it's gone, like Doom is such a like it's going to be really difficult to have this movie without having him be fully fleshed out. And I don't know if you're going to be able to fully flesh him out in, the back half of a Fantastic Four movie, if he even shows up in that one, which is crazy for me to be like, I don't know if Doctor Doom will show up in the Fantastic Four. Like, I'm like, what we've lost the plot. But like, I don't know if you'll be able to fully flesh this guy out within, 2 hours of Doomsday and then have it matter enough for us to A, care about Doomsday, and then B, care about Secret Wars. So I'm like, I'm a little confused. I think they're kind of just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I would love if it was a misdirection. I think that would be really cool and like a really nice way to be like, okay, we got you. We got little piggies with their slop, but we're just kidding. It's this. But I don't know. Like, I am also like I understand, like, let people have fun in that argument, and like for sure if you're having fun, like, who cares? But I'm like, am I having fun? Is this fun? Is this fun for me? Like, I want to care. Like, like I want to care like how I did when Endgame was coming out. And they're making it hard for me to care.
I'm writing so many notes.
That was gold. All of what you just said. I feel like I agree 100. It just feels it does feel kind of cheap. It's just like, how can we make a big splash? Like, just throw RDJ. It's like, what I think Marvel fans want is the authenticity, and like, we want to know that the people creating these movies and shows like also care about it. Like you said, the actors don't necessarily need to know all the lore, but the people writing it and the people creating it, I think, should care. And I feel like that's partly why I like Deadpool so much, because I can tell that Ryan Reynolds just like loves it, and the whole team, they just have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, we want care to go into their decisions, and not just like things that are going to make headlines.
I wrote a lot of notes, so I'm going to try to link them all. Where do I start? God damn. All right. So, I think that there are fans that, and this ties in with what Maggie was saying about like, when's Robin coming in, blah, blah, blah. I think there are fans and content creators that just care about moments. They want a slideshow of all the big things, and like, they're not there for the story. Story doesn't matter as much as long as it's a spectacle. Which, I'll be honest, Deadpool Wolverine was spectacle. And I liked him. I'm not going to derail this whole thing. Deadpool around the dinner table with his friends means a lot more to me.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds funny. It's like, why am I signing up for Deadpool? No, Deadpool can be raunchy and weird and whatever with his friends, and we see his friends interact. And I know it's his movie, but also I feel like that took a backseat in that movie. That's beside the point. I think there are fans that want moments and there's fans that want stories. I think that moments have diminishing returns. Like, if you hinge your whole franchise on moments, you need a bigger hit every single time. You take your first bump of Coke, maybe it's the best thing, but now you need 2 bumps and 3. I've never done Coke. I'm just saying.
Yeah, wait, where's this analogy going?
Metaphorically speaking, moments diminish over time, right? And so I think that the RDJ thing is it's not an investment. If it's not a misdirect, if it's an actual thing, I think it's just moments, and I don't think it's investing in the future and the progress of the MCU. I think it's just like, how do we get their butts in the seats for those 2 movies? And we just got to balance the books, and then we'll figure out what that means later. And I think that the MCU is better than that. So I'd like to hope that that's not the case, but I think they're better than that. I think that RDJ's casting is, I originally said lazy, but then a friend of mine said it seems desperate. And so desperate's
a better way to put it.
Desperation's the lack of investment in the future, right? Like, you're desperate just to claw your way past 2026, 2027, whenever these ones are coming out. It's like, let's just make sure we get past those next couple years. and it's like, okay, but what happens to that character afterwards? I think that, like, I can understand, as again a longtime fan of just everything, that like there's a difference between like adaptations are going to be adaptations. They're not recreations of the comic. So I'm okay with any of these differences. But first things first, I hate the multiverse. I just hate it so much. I hate the fact that the MCU brought it in, and it just makes everything just not matter. And it's whatever. But I don't know. I just think that like I'm hoping it's a misdirect, but if it's RDJ playing Victor Von Doom, and maybe he makes an appearance in Fantastic Four, and then he's in Doomsday, and then he's in Secret Wars, they could have cast anyone else. And if I was in Hall H when they announced, like when they were building up to this, I would have been so excited until they released it, and then I would have had such a big crash.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I would have cheered, but I also would have been like, all the people that were running through my head, you know.
I kind of crashed after, like the energy in the room. It was like, whoa, oh my gosh, like RDJ. Like my brain didn't really comprehend that like he is Doctor Doom. Like it did, because I was typing it out to my team, the people, but like, and then afterwards, like when we stepped out of Hall H, like I talked to my boyfriend, and I was like, so what was that? And like we were talking about it, and it was like, I just felt like so hopeful the whole time, like because when they're talking about these 3 movies, I was like, yeah, like maybe I will care again. Maybe this is something that I care about, because I have been an MCU fan for as long as it's been around. Like I remember seeing like Iron Man 3 like in theaters for like Mother's Day. Like my mom, like, my parents are big nerds. Like this has been like a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And then after Endgame, I was like, okay, I'm still trucking. And it wasn't until Secret Invasion that I just kind of stopped watching. Secret Invasion and the Marvels were the first MCU projects that I just straight up didn't watch.
Secret Invasion
and like that was
bad.
crazy.
Secret Invasion is
I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, that was really bad. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to do this. Like if I don't want to watch something, I don't have to.
It gets
like
worse.
That's okay. Oh, great. Oh, goody.
The Marvels, I will stand up for the Marvels. I'm not saying it's the best, but I think it's just a classic family movie. And
for
like
sure.
I think it needs to exist. So because Marvel needs to diversify in many different ways, but in stories as well, and their target audiences. Sorry to interrupt. What were you?
No, you're chilling. But yeah, so like during the panel, I was like, oh, maybe I do care again. Maybe I will start to care, because I loved X-Men '97. That was animated, but like I just love the X-Men.
Yeah.
I did see Deadpool and Wolverine. I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna start to care again. And then all that like goodwill that they were building up the entire panel, like I felt such a drop with the RDJ reveal. I was like, oh, just kidding. They're still hacks. Whoops. And then like I don't think the Russos have ever made a good non-Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And I think they've made bad Marvel movies too.
Yeah.
I think they've made really good ones, but also I think it's just kind of like,
what's the worst Russo Marvel movie?
I don't know, what ones did they do? They did Infinity War, Endgame.
They did Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. I think those were the 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think Infinity War and Endgame were just like bigger than the Russos, but like a lot of things in, like, I love those movies, but a lot of things in those movies, like you can tell it's literally just like, okay, and now we tie this, and now we tie this loose end, and then this happens. Like it's, and I think it's a hard, difficult event movie to move forward from, and I think the studio has been dealing with that since Endgame came out. Of like, okay, well we built this up for the past 10 years. How do we do this? And I think they're kind of like trying to speed run building things up, and I'm like, I understand that, like, I don't think it's a good business idea to be like, okay, now back to square one. Now we're gonna make like another movie like Iron Man, which is like amazing, but also like for the time it was like, who's Iron Man? Why do we care? This, like, I mean, the first Iron Man movie was made with like Paramount, like they weren't even the MCU yet.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to be Kevin Feige and trying to deal with all this. I wouldn't want to be that, but I do feel like the Russos and the MCU are kind of just like each other's like yes man. And so I'm like, sure, fine, I guess. I think it's interesting that
Kevin Feige was like, yeah, we want to get all these great directors and, you know, have their own directorial style. But then like we did that with Chloe Zhao and the Eternals, and everyone was like, this sucks. And I was like, what do you mean? This is a real movie. Like, this is an actual, like, you know, like in the timeline where we got Edgar Wright to do the first Ant-Man, like that would have been crazy. Like, you know, like I really wish they were more but keen on getting directors with their own distinct style. But also I think a lot of directors with their own distinct style don't want to be a part of the MCU machine.
Right, because the MCU is going to stifle your style.
Yeah, like having a huge studio. You can't be an
auteur, you know?
No, for sure.
Prue, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I kind of I feel you on the like hoping to care more again. I feel like I am. There are a lot of shows that I didn't see, and a lot of movies. I think I fell off after Endgame I loved WandaVision. I watched Loki. Like, I watched a lot of the first like Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started to fall off because they didn't make me keep caring. And so now I mean I love Deadpool. So I saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll care again. And like after talking to you two, I'm like so much more interested and looking forward to just seeing these movies just now, like just to see how it all plays out. Even like the disappointing things we're talking about. I mean, it's like crazy to say that RDJ is a disappointment, but he's not. Yeah. It's just
actor, no.
He had his no, and like obviously everyone in the room would clap. It's RDJ. You're in the same room. You're gonna. I would cheer too, but I would definitely be like confused. I think be like, literally, that's an opportunity for another actor to like have their moment.
I'm trying to figure out what can be comparable because the MCU is such a specific thing. I'm trying to figure out what is an idea that is comparable for like another, like what could another franchise pull that would feel the same way? And like part of me is like, I don't know if Darth Revan is a Star Wars character that like people are like blah blah blah, like, oh cool, wouldn't it be cool to see him in a movie, blah blah blah. And imagine if they were like building up Darth Revan, so the fans of Star Wars are like Darth Revan, Darth Revan, Darth Revan. It's like only one person can play Darth Revan, and it is Hayden Christensen.
That would be what?
That might be the only comparable thing, like, because it needs to be a long enough standing franchise. Hayden Christensen played Darth Vader. He is dead. That character is dead. Bring him back as Darth Revan.
I think that
I could see that's comparable.
That is very comparable. I think that studios should honestly talk to content creators and like have focus groups and stuff, because the fan casts that I see, the plot ideas that I see, like go straight to the source of like the fandom of like people who like know this content back and forth and get ideas from them and see what fans really want instead of just like, oh, what's going to make the biggest splash.
I'm pretty sure they do surf the internet. I think a lot of fans are myopic. Like,
in what ways?
Somebody made a joke fan cast for Teen Titans. And it was a joke, and it was like Timothée Chalamet as Robin. Jenna Ortega as Raven. And it's because all with the same people. Then they're like, I forget who they're. Oh, Tom Holland as Beast Boy, Zendaya as Starfire, and The Rock as Cyborg. And it's like, oh yeah, because those are the only people that you know. Like, don't get those people to cast people, but like also look at the whole, like everybody, like what do people want and whatnot, right?
I feel like the content creators that I follow, like you and Justin and Chase Stubes, and like I feel like you guys always have really meaningful like ideas, and not just like
there's a lot of people who don't. I'll say that. There's a lot of people who really don't. It's really bad.
Is there someone that you two would have selected for Dr.
I am not a fan cast person. I'm not a casting director. I do not claim to be one. I think being a casting director is a skill that a lot of people on the internet do not have. I will say the one fan cast of Doctor Doom that I was like, you know what, I would be okay with that was Cillian Murphy. That was a really popular one on the internet, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. But like honestly, like I think the best casting decisions usually for me are the actors that I don't really know much about.
Yeah.
And like so like for me, like when when those X-Men movies get made in like 2035, I'm like, first of all, these movies are, not coming out for a while. So a fan cast from 2015 is going to be so different than a fan cast from, 2024.
Right.
But like the best casting for me is like the actor that, maybe I didn't think of. Like, I mean, even with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, like it's not like Iron Man was like beloved by the masses or anything like that. But like everyone was like, oh, he's making his comeback. He's gonna be he's gonna do a superhero movie. Like, what's going on with that? And like like then the MCU was born essentially. So like, why can't we have more moments like that instead of like recycling through the same like 20 people?
Yeah. I also think like the best casting has been the ones that are surprising. Like if you look back on all of these, they were like RDJ as a fan cast was not considered first choice. Like people were always like, Tom Cruise is in talks. Tom Cruise. Everyone was expecting Tom Cruise to play Iron Man, but like Tom Cruise wouldn't have signed up to play Iron Man over a multi-picture deal and continue with the MCU and whatever. But if you look at the main Avengers, Chris Hemsworth was like a very minor soap opera actor in Australia. Before he got his start, and then you see him in the beginning of Star Trek, but he dies in the first 10 minutes of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek back in 2010. 9. Yeah. And so
I love
it's
that
like,
movie.
yeah, it's great. Oh, that beginning scene hits me hard.
So good.
It's so good. And then he like bulks up for the role, and then when people were like, he got cast, and you can see him in this one small thing, you're like, okay, cool. But like, then you look at Chris Evans. And, like, we were like, okay, he already played the Human Torch, and then he gets cast as Captain America, and it's, like, kind of weird, but, like, okay, he's older now, it's different now. That's not the same as RDJ and as both these characters.
Yeah.
All these, like, side things. Like, Scarlett Johansson, to me, like, she wasn't even their first choice. Emily Blunt was the first choice for Black Widow, and then they cast Scarlett Johansson. Like Mark Ruffalo was an out of the box idea for the Hulk, and I was like, let's do it. It's not always the first person you pick. So like for Doctor Doom, my big thing about the MCU is something that like, so Star Wars is dealing with their own thing where they have to like invest in new talent, invest in new ideas, invest in new genres. Like Star Wars is really trying that. Like they slipped and they fell. They're trying that. The MCU tried that with Phase 4, but people are like, no, we want the same old thing. And it's like, will you continue to want the same old thing? I guess. So you kind of have to like do some things in the same style and then like diversify in other styles. So I forget where I was going with this. Where was I going with this? Oh, invest in new talent. That's a big thing. You're investing in new genres, investing in new stories and new characters. Doctor Doom, for me, and it's not fun to like not be able to fan cast it, I've been hearing that like Marvel is not good with their like Romani characters, and they always cast non-Romani actors and actresses for Romani roles. So at the very least, cast an unknown Romani actor for Doctor Doom. Now, it's not something that I have a personal direct connection to or anything, but I think that like I'm hearing people talk about it, and I'm like, okay, there's no reason why we couldn't have done an unknown for Doctor Doom. Because a known actor, you'd probably get 5 years at most with that character.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially at that.
I think it's just weird. I also think they're trying to make up for the fact that he is like inevitably going to be underdeveloped. So I think they're trying to like cushion the blow of that. Will be like, but it's RDJ. Like I know this character is beloved, and people really want him to be all these things, and he's not going to be all these things. But it's RDJ at least. Like I don't know, and I feel like. And I'm glad you mentioned the whole Romani aspect of it, because I mean, like Scarlet Witch, whitewash, like all these people are whitewashed.
Quicksilver,
like
Agatha,
it is,
or no, not Agatha. No, I don't think Agatha's Romani, but there's a character.
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple that they're like, okay. It's like,
And
not
it-
only
and
are they
it's
making old
odd.
ladies young and hot, like that's a thing that MCU does. It's like all these
Yeah.
old lady characters are like, but
Gotta
what
be
if they're
sexy.
yeah, what if they're young and hot?
Yeah,
They're
what if?
also taking away that part, you know?
Yeah, but I think like specifically Doom, like I think his culture and his ethnicity, I think do play a bigger role in his like backstory and why he is the way he is. And so I just think it's odd to like, I don't know if they're just gonna have if there's gonna totally gloss over that or if they're gonna have RDJ just be like, yep, it's me, I'm Romani. Like, I don't know. But I think a lot of fans, a lot of comic book fans, a lot of Doctor Doom fans are really disappointed because they're like I don't know if it's exactly the same because I am not going to come out here and say that I have read Doctor Doom's comics. I have not. I'm not going to front on that. But like from what I've been hearing from other people, like it almost feels like if they made like Magneto like not Jewish.
Right.
Like it's something that like maybe it is lesser known, but it is like intrinsic to like who he is and like why he wants what he wants and like the things with his family. So I think it's a little bit of a bummer that like so much of that is already kind of like off the table in a way. I mean, they could always like unfortunately they could always just be like, no, we're just gonna have RDJ play a Romani man and that's how we're gonna do it. But like I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't even touch on it at all. Like,
I don't think
how
they would
do
touch on it because I think that's even worse.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, America also just culturally doesn't have a connection to like just like historically and socially, like Romani characters, Romani people. Like it's a very European thing, right? And so it's just it's tough. Not that they don't exist here, I'm just saying. But like I don't know. I think at the very least we could have gotten an unknown that you could invest time and energy and that's the thing with all these like I like Marvel Phase 4. I do. Because I know what they're going for. They're expanding the sandbox. But I think the big misstep for Marvel Phase 4, there were 3 things they did, and they only did 2 of those 3 things. I think it would have been better. One is bringing in brand new characters you've never met before. Second thing that they did was get rid of characters that you've grown up with for 10 years. And then third was no Avengers movie in Phase 4. And I think if they did only 2 of those things and not 3 of those things, Phase 4 would have been solid.
Yeah.
But they did all 3. And then it just created this new thing. And it was kind of unrecognizable.
It really feels like most of the characters that they introduced in Phase 4 like don't matter, unfortunately.
It sucks.
Like it's a bummer. Like I love Miss Marvel. I love that show. Like and I want to care about these people, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's like they just keep being like, well, and now we're introducing this, and now we're doing this. And it's like, what about the characters that you introduced, like, at the beginning of this phase? Like, when are they gonna come back, Like, I don't know. It's interesting. And to be a fly on the wall at Marvel.
The Shang-Chi came out in 2021. Also, they didn't have any merch in the movie theater. I just wanted to say that. They didn't have, like, any movie theater merch. And that sucked. But the point being is that, like, what? Like, at the very earliest, if they started filming now, we get a Shang-Chi movie in 2026, probably. Like, 5 years later?
Yeah, it's a little odd.
It was...
well, especially because like with phase like 1, 2, and 3, it's like those Iron Man movies. Like we got Iron Man 1 and 2 are in the same phase, no?
I don't know technically, but they
were very close together. Like we were getting those trilogies like very close together. And like same with like Thor even. So like I just think it's like crazy that they're like, okay, and the MCU is this big now, but it's like it doesn't matter if it's big. It needs to still have substance.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like they bit off more than they could chew. And now they don't know like which they're going in too many different directions.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to make it all cohesive.
Yeah. Somebody brought up that they've been getting hit left and right. And so bringing in the Russos and bringing in RGJ was just like them just trying to like steady the ship a little bit. But they've been getting hit left and right for multiple different reasons. COVID was a big thing, right? And luckily COVID happened after after Endgame. Like they were lucky enough to like, I guess, do that, which is crazy to think. Like, what if it was a year or two earlier? It would have just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, but then it's not only COVID, it's the writer's strike, it's the actor's strike, it's the rise of AI, which I think, like, I don't know. I have some opinions on that, but like, it's also the idea that like Disney was looking for a new president, right? Isn't there like a presidential thing going on right now, or did they figure it out? Like, who's the
They fired Chapek, and now it's back to Iger. But again, it's just like RDJ. It's like they just brought someone old back that just to slap a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, it's
like,
also
Bob Iger like famously
like,
left the company, and then now he's back, and I don't know.
But aren't they trying to choose like a new?
I don't know, because I know Iger
is
didn't sign on
retiring
for
at some point.
He didn't sign on for very long. I mean, technically, he left. Like he was like, "I'm out. I'm done," and then they just brought him back. So I mean, I'm sure we'll get a new one sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but that's an upset, right? In the company and whatnot, and so they're getting hit left and right from it. So I don't know. I don't want to exhaust this topic too much, but like, it is exhausting, and I'm a little let down.
Yeah,
because I'm here for the stories, and like other people may be here for the moments, but like we can have good stories and good moments. We've had it in the past.
For sure.
Just let's not always go for cheap thrills. I mean, a lot happened at SCCC, not just Marvel stuff, but we are running out of time. But like there were announcements for new Boys series.
Yeah, sure.
You know, for anyone out there interested in the Boys, there's multiple spin-offs. Even the Boys season 5, I think it'll come out in a couple years. They're gonna have a couple series that take place in between, including Gen V season 2. They might do a Boys Mexico, and they're doing Vought Rising, which is in like the 50s or something. Star Wars didn't have any big announcements for any Star Wars fans, other than new comic announcements, new book announcements that tie in with the Acolyte and the High Republic. Star Wars Outlaws comes out. I was at that panel. The new video game. It looks really cool. DC Comics DC didn't do any announcements for movies. They just did comic announcements. And that
and they showed us the first trailer for the Penguin, which came out at the same time. And they have a Batman Caped Crusader, which is now streaming on Prime. I saw the first episode. I hope it gets better. I hope it gets better.
It gets better. It gets better.
It does. That's what I've heard. But I'm like, I don't know. I watched the first episode and I was like, what are we doing here? It was just the animation really threw me off. Like, it just wasn't awesome. And also, like, I said to my friend when we were watching it, I was like, what are these, like, literally, like, computer game click and point adventure, like, animation? Like,
you're not a fan of the animation in general?
No, like, the animation, like, the thing, like, I understand it's, like, the Bruce Timm, like, inspired style and stuff like that, but it looks really cheap. Like, there was a lot of moments where the only thing on screen moving was someone's mouth. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. Because I love animation. I'm not one of those people that's like, ew, it's animated. And I'm like, I love animated movies and stuff like that. But I'm just hoping it gets a little bit better.
Talk about a company that's going through a lot of mess is HBO Max, Discovery, whatever they're called. Now they're thinking about splitting back up again.
Whatever.
But James Gunn is doing a good job as far as I can see with DC Studios. So I'm very excited for stuff like that. But we didn't get really announcements off of that. But we did get big comic announcements for DC Comics, stuff, and Marvel Comics stuff, whether it's X-Men or whatnot. Are there any other big announcements that were announced before we sign off? Any things that really stood out? I know there's fandoms that I don't personally pay attention to, like Doctor Who had some announcements.
Oh yeah, they're doing like the first ever. I was in that panel. They're doing like the first ever Doctor Who spin-off show. It's like the Doctor's not going to be in it. It's like the war between the land and the sea. And yeah, there's more info about it online, but that's all I got.
There was a previous Doctor Who spinoff, which was Torchwood.
Was there?
Torchwood.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about Torchwood. Holy shit.
It's been a long
Oh my
time.
god. Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, and then Star Trek has like a bajillion things coming out. They have a movie with Michelle Yeoh in it.
Section 31 coming straight to Paramount Plus.
It looks good. It looks cute.
Yeah, it's a different vibe than Star Trek.
It's like espionage. They're calling it a spy-fi because they're like playing with the genre, which I think is cool. I mean,
again,
also
franchises need to do that.
Yeah, they do. But also, something at the Star Trek panel that I don't understand is that apparently the Star Trek fandom, they call themselves Trekkers now instead of Trekkies.
They've always
no.
Trekkie became like derogatory.
It's not. You're nerds. You're not
and then they were like, we're not Trekkies, we're Trekkers. I've heard that for like decades.
No,
I've heard it for decades.
To be fair, I've only been alive for 2.5 decades, but no, whatever. My parents growing up, they were Trekkies. They said Trekkie. They're big Trekkies. I was texting my dad. I was like, "Do you still watch any of the Star Trek stuff?" And they were like, "We watch all of them on Paramount." I was like, "Sure, okay, awesome." 60-year-olds, but. No, they were saying Trekkers, and I was like, "Dad, what is it? What do you mean? It's Trekkies?" And he was like, "Well, I blame the millennials, and it kind of morphed over time because, like, literally the producers were saying Trekkers." And I was like, "Am I having a stroke? Like, is this like, am I Mandela affecting myself?" No, because when I was growing up and well into the 2000s and 2010s, it was Trekkies. I never heard the word Trekkers before, and respectfully, Trekkers sounds like more of a slur than Trekkies ever could.
That's true.
Trekkers sounds bad. It does not sound good.
It also just sounds like, do you hike? I feel like it'd be a hiking club, if anything.
Something.
You know? I like Star Trek. So they did announce a lot of Star Trek news for any Star Trek fans out there. But like Lower Decks, they're doing a live action comedy series with Tanya Newsom and Justin Simeon. They're doing the Section 31 movie. They're doing, obviously, Strange New Worlds is coming out at some point. Strange New Worlds has been amazing, if you haven't watch it. If anyone who hasn't watched Star Trek at all, start with Strange New Worlds. It's just like a contemporary.
That's what my dad said
at the same time.
I asked him, I was like, should I watch any of these? He was like, oh, watch Strange New Worlds.
I think you would like it. Also, like, everybody's really attractive, and like there's this like
great.
Like, why does the doctor take off his shirt and have a 6-pack? He's a doctor. Why? What? Okay.
Sexy.
Okay, fine.
Sex sells.
Yeah. But it's not just empty. Like it's for
sure.
It's a fun show. But yeah, I mean, we got trailers for like DC's Creature Commandos, the animated thing that still takes place in the DC universe, but they're doing an animated show that's in continuity with that. Penguin, Rings of Power, Transformers 1, a lot of stuff. So we can't obviously cover everything, and we exhausted our time on the MCU.
Transformers 1 is going to be really great though. I saw it's like pretty much finished, and I saw it right before Comic-Con.
Oh yeah,
amazing movie. So if you're on the fence about it at all, please see Transformers 1. It was phenomenal.
Okay, I do want to see it. I am very
excited. It was so good.
Before we get going, I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts about everything here. Are you guys going to go again next year?
Absolutely, I am.
Okay.
Yep, I work it every year.
Yeah,
I'll be there in the Hall H line. Or at the Hall H line, not in it, probably.
She is the line.
Yeah, the line starts and ends.
You gotta go through her to get in.
Yeah. If you want to get in line, you're gonna have to go through.
Yeah, me.
And they're like, oh, okay. But thank you, both of you, so much for coming on the show, for taking time out of your Saturday to talk about San Diego Comic-Con and your experiences and the news and everything. Before we get going, I want to know where people can find you. What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug? Maggie, I'll let you go first.
I am Maggie Kingdom, Maggie, and Kingdom, you can spell it. On every platform. I'm most active on Instagram, though. I do I do try and do TikTok sometimes. I kind of fell off once things started opening up from the pandemic and I had less free time, but I'm mostly active on Instagram. I'll be at D23 next weekend, and then if any LA locals go to the Labyrinth Masquerade Ball, I do both Friday and Saturday of that. So lots of fun little things coming up before con season kind of slows down.
Awesome. I'm also going to D23, and I am hosting an after party down the street at Bruheim Brewery in Anaheim.
What?
On that Friday night, August 9th. So if anyone's in the area, I'm going to host a Disney game show. So, that I've created. So,
Have fun.
If anyone
Okay, well,
wants
message me about that, please.
Oh, you're not invited. Sorry.
Oh, bummer. Sorry. I'll be in my hotel room crying.
Fine. I'll send you an invite. No, it is open to the public. Though only a couple of people will be able to apply for and be part of the game show. Because I got to keep the contestant number lower. But I'll be hosting that. So,
Great.
That's something to look forward to. But yeah, Prue, same thing.
Yeah, you could find me on TikTok. I was posting a lot during the last season of Stranger Things. I fell in love with Eddie Munson and just had a lot to say about the whole season. I do like that show. I don't think I will be watching the next season though. But you can find me there at Prue Pachu. That's PRUCHOO. And I don't have anything to plug. I just want to say Free Palestine, baby.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. All right. Thank you both of you so much for coming on this. For anyone out there who wants to follow me personally, you can follow me on social media at This Is Dimithri. But as far as the Keeg is concerned, you can find us on TikTok and Instagram. Those are two biggest social media platforms at The Keeg Show. We're also on Twitter, Threads, Facebook, all that stuff, at The Keeg Show, / The Keeg Show. I also got new stickers made, which I'll be debuting at D23. And so those are really cool. I don't know, just Sticky Brand is where I went, because I was like, I'm itching to support a sticker company that I have not supported yet. And so, coincidence. Sticky Brand.
I love that.
Awesome.
Anyway, The Keeg Show, pretty much everywhere. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv / The Keeg Show or youtube.com / The Keeg Show. But if you're listening to the podcast, it's wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. This is the Keeg Talks. It's pretty much every weekend. It's every other weekend. We're back off a big hiatus, but we've got some cool movies and TV shows to talk about. But we also have the Comic Talks, which is every Thursday, where we talk about new comics that come out on that given week. And it's really cool for people who want to, stay in touch with what is going on with comics. And I have a cool Comic Talk crew that we talk about. And then also have State of X, which is our X-Men podcast that we do once a month. And that's also we're filming it or streaming it right after this. So, there's that. There's a lot of stuff going on. Just follow us at TikTok and Instagram.
He's a busy man.
Probably, yeah. I like to torture myself. It is torture, and I hate it and I love it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Support your local comic shops. Go to comicshoplocator.com. Find a comic shop near you. Support your local libraries. Whether it's for comics or not, support your local libraries, local public libraries. And then public schools also, just throwing stuff out there, see what sticks. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Thanks so much for watching once again. I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been the Keeg Talks, San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Super fast, gotta beat the boss and get the loot, cause it's the King, and we got geek news.